Hello everyone, this is PK Entertainment and we're back again, and here now we have another video for you, and we're quickly going to talk about Martin Scorsese's latest upcoming film, Killers of the Flower Moon, its huge budget, and why it confirms the over-reliance within the industry that we currently see on more mainstream blockbusters and indeed superhero movies. Now, Killers of the Flower Moon is a western crime drama based on a book by David Gran, released back in 2017, which covered a series of real-life murders within the 1920s that took place within the Osage County within Oklahoma. It centers on the Osage community, who are a Midwestern Native American tribe, wherein certain murders occurred after valuable oil was discovered within their mainland. The movie stars Leonardo Di Caprio, Robert De Niro, Jesse Plemons and Lily Goldstein, and it will be financed by Apple TV. As well as Scorsese reteaming with long-time collaborations of both Leonardo DiCaprio and Robert De Niro, what really caught the attention of this project was the huge budget, which was recently confirmed in an IndieWire article to be around $200 million. Now, this raises the very interesting debate about why famous directors continue to struggle to get backing from studios for cinematic releases, and they constantly have to rely on streaming giants such as Apple or Netflix in order to fund their projects. Now, of course, Martin Scorsese very much triggered the whole internet, where he seemingly criticised or gave commentary on the Marvel movies, stating that they resembled more theme parks and that they weren't true cinema. Now, his comments saw a continued trend of acclaimed directors speaking out and criticising in some way, shape or form the industry and its over-reliance on indeed superhero movies, and in particular the movies set within the MCU. This year recently we had director Roland Emmerich, who directed the big budget sci-fi action and Moonfall, stating that the Marvel films were hindering original concepts within the industry. Now, as we all know, the superhero genre has been the most prolific and commercial genre within mainstream entertainment, certainly for the last 15 to 20 years, and studios will continue to favour what's most popular within audiences. Now, this is something that's always been the way within Hollywood, even before the comic book movies really came to prominence. We would constantly see sequels, reboots and established IPs and franchises being preferred over original stories. And this is something that was amplified even more so in the post-pandemic era, where studios are even more risk-averse backing original concepts and ideas. So we can understand filmmakers' frustrations, especially with the likes of Martin Scorsese, who alongside Steven Spielberg, Francis Ford Coppola and George Lucas was very much considered the pioneers of cinema, particularly within the 70s and 80s. And back in those days, just their name alone would be enough for studios to give them backing for their overall films, where they would have for the most part complete control over the projects that they were handling. But fast forward to today's climate, and those filmmakers no longer have the clout that they used to in order to get the backing for their films. So we can talk about the reliance on superhero movies and also the emergence of streaming platforms, which are both huge factors in the way that entertainment is shaped today, and definitely provide a hindrance in the filmmakers getting their projects made. But what's also stopping these filmmakers from getting backing for their films are their increasingly high budgets, and the fact that they are too high to be considered a profitable investment. And at $200 million, Killers of the Flower Moon would need to make around $600 million minimum to break even before seeing any type of profit if it were to be released in cinemas. So for a project that we would assume would be far more of a character-driven historical period drama with a runtime most likely at least 2 hours and 30 minutes long, which will have a far more of an adult art-orientated tone, any studio in this current climate wouldn't be as agreeable to risk investing a budget of around $200 million. And this has been proven recently with Paramount selling the rights to the movie to Apple TV. So when looking at the project, we asked the question, why does Killers of the Flower Moon cost so much? Why does a project which Scorsese would deem true cinema cost every bit as much as those films that he would deem far more amusement parks? Yes, of course, Leonardo DiCaprio would require a high salary. He's still the most prolific lead actor within the industry, and we saw a recent example of this where he got paid around $30 million for the Netflix drama Don't Look Up. And of course, starring alongside the likes of Robert De Niro, who would still command a huge salary even though he's coming towards the later stages of his outstanding career. Now, of course, Scorsese would have shot the movie a lot on location. The set design and production levels will be of all of high quality for sure. But does it have to be $200 million worth of high quality? Couldn't the film have been made equally high quality on, let's say, 80 to 90 million? We've seen plenty of low budget films over the years that still look extremely cinematic when put on screen. Now, of course, the budget doesn't decide on whether a film is good or not, but does this concept of this film really merit the high budget and costs that is being set at? And this is one of the big reasons why filmmakers today can't get their projects backed overall. We saw recently with Scorsese's film The Irishman, the gangster film which cost over 150 million and had a runtime of over 3 hours and 20 minutes. Despite having Al Pacino, Robert De Niro and Joe Pesci in the casts, studios still saw it as too much of a risk, and that was very understandable. When watching the film overall, it really didn't need to cost that much, and it definitely didn't need to be around 3 hours and 20 minutes long. We look at the previous films of Martin Scorsese, the likes of Casino and Goodfellas, both of which are considered masterpieces and justifiably so. Both films had lower budgets for the era that they were released in, but they still looked authentic and cinematic on screen. So why can't this be the same case for Killers of the Flower Moon? Why can't it cost around 50 or 60 or 70 million and still look at every bit as authentic and cinematic on screen as both what Casinos and Goodfellas do? So again, this is something for directors to really think about when pushing forward their projects to get financing, and it does counter a lot of the antagonism and criticism shown towards the Marvel films. I've stated in previous videos that whilst they are dominating in terms of financial box office, they're not dominating in terms of pure numbers and quantity in terms of movies being made. The fact is that you will see more movies like Killers of the Flower Moon being made or released rather than you would in terms of MCU films. But the problem is that the likes of those films aren't being marketed as well. Perhaps the main scripts and concepts aren't as appealing to mainstream audiences. And as we mentioned already with Killers of the Flower Moon, many of these projects, the budgets are just too high in order for the studios to really risk worth investing in. So for me, Killers of the Flower Moon, and indeed its budget overall, is really one of the main reasons why we can't just accuse the Marvel films all the time as being the primary reasons why we aren't getting more films that we consider true cinema or more independent or art house films. Why not necessarily they're getting the true backing from cinemas? But if these filmmakers still want to stay prominent and really change the system and get the focus far more back on far more original and creator-driven content, then they really have to adjust to the current times and play the game within the game. They really have to watch the huge budgets of their films, and Killers of the Flower Moon for me is another great example of why we will continue to see studios far more favour the likes of the Marvel superhero movies rather than projects made by Martin Scorsese, who will continually struggle to get their movies being made. If they have films like Killers of the Flower Moon costing of around 200 million, I just feel that's truly excessive for a film of that concept. It's only going to continue the frustration of filmmakers about not getting their films being made overall. So those are my quick thoughts and feelings on a confirmation of Martin Scorsese's latest project, Killers of the Flower Moon, and the ongoing debate as to whether the industry is truly being plagued by the ongoing Marvel films. Is it the fact that these filmmakers really need to look at their own particular projects and start having far more consideration in terms of the overall budgets and costs of their films if they want to see them getting made and overall released within cinemas? So those are my overall thoughts and feelings on this debate. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you'd like to see me cover more topics like this within the future within this channel, let me know in the comments and I'll continue to provide more commentary on subjects like this in the future. Please also hit and like the subscription and notification buttons so I can provide you with more high quality content like this in the future. But that's it for now. Take care of yourselves, stay safe distances, and I will see you very, very soon.